Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. We have an incredible show lined up for you today. Some are calling it the Dream Team. Before we get to them, let's look at the recap screen and see how we did yesterday. All right, well, we got a winning day. Buckets, 2 out of 3. Proppy, Paulo Banchero, over 22.5 points. That cash is super easy. Eric David asking in the chat, did anybody ladder that play? Absolutely love it. My Clemson play was an absolute runaway. Mackenzie Brooks 1 for 2, and we lose our SportsLine pick, but 5 and 3, we will definitely take that. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to move forward. We got to focus on the present, and we're going to do that with the stars of the show. We've got Propstarz, we've got Mike, and we've got Mike. And Propstarz, we also have another special guest. Introduce us.
Oh, we do indeed, gentlemen. Great to see you. Still flying high at Propstarz HQ, by the way. But we've got Goose live in the flesh. He loves to hug me in the morning. He's currently attached to my shoulder. Hopefully he'll turn around soon to greet everybody, but he's very excited. He laddered Paolo yesterday, had a lot of success there. So, yeah, we're fired up over here.
I'm getting the vibe that Goose is scared of something and is hiding in the camouflage that is your wardrobe. So very interesting. It's hard to make out. Mikey B, we've got a lot of NBA All-Stars on the show today. Are you intimidated? We got Propstarz and Mike McClure.
I'm more worried about Dr. Evil here than anything else.
Fair enough. And Mike McClure, can I ask you something? And I'm going to ask this to the chat as well. Best Mike of all time, best sports Mike of all time, not named Michael Jordan.
Mike Tyson, just because of the sheer dominance, how early he did it, how long he did it. And it's a sport that I think is just, underrated in the athleticism that it takes. I think that we watch boxing, right? And you think that, the guys are standing there hitting each other. It's just the stamina and the athleticism needed is pretty significant, but there are so many. Even just in the chat, I would say the same thing for Michael Phelps, the swimming, absolutely incredible athlete to be able to pull that off. I know I'm taking a lot of time on this, but it might be Michael Phelps for me, the swimming. I think, you see like watching in the Olympics, it would be hilarious to see the Olympics versus just like an average person swimming and watching those like as a tracker. Because there is a massive gap between what any of us can swim and someone like that, for sure.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Jen, you are swaying Mike McClure on best Mike. All right, before we get to picks, Mikey B, is it Mike Tyson? By the way, if you haven't seen like a Mike Tyson documentary, that's your homework assignment today in terms of like how good he was, how dominant he was in the late 80s, early 90s. You got to watch. I mean, it is crazy how dominant this guy was. Mikey B, is Mike Tyson your best Mike outside of Michael Jordan?
Yeah, he's right up there. I'll say athlete-wise, Michael Vick. He's a crazy athlete. Not necessarily most accomplished, but athletically, he's up there.
Brad Merrill dropping Mike Bibby and Richard Pierre, Mike Ditka, Propstarz. Do you have a favorite Mike or best athlete Mike not named Michael Jordan?
I think both Mikey B and Mike M Squared had excellent answers. Can't argue with either of those Mikes. I will say Mike Ditka, underrated athlete. He was the only tight end, I think, before Kyle Pitts to have 1,000 yards in his rookie season. So underrated on the gridiron. Obviously, we know him as being a great coach, but he was a heck of a football player as well.
Wow. We're digging deep here. I absolutely love to hear it. All right, let's get to some picks. Mikey B, again, we've got an NBA All-Star lineup, but don't worry, we don't have just NBA picks on the show. I've got a golf pick. We've got a pick from Tom Casale. Mike McClure's pick is a college basketball pick. There's a lot coming, including, I was going to say a hockey pick, but no, that's a college basketball pick. Mikey B, start us off with some NBA.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of NBA games tonight, but I got 2 picks from the same game, the Bulls and the Pistons. Of course, I got to go to the Bulls game. First one, we're going to do Kobe White over 19.5 points at -122. He scored at least 20 points in each of the last 5 games. Zach LaVine is gone, thankfully, which means Kobe White will be busy down the stretch here. He's an excellent three-point shooter. He's shooting 38.2% behind the arc this season on 8.2 three-point attempts per game. Now, why we like that stat? The Pistons have allowed the 3rd highest three-point shooting percentage in the league. White has played them twice this season. He had at least 22 points in both of those games. So I like the over 19.5 points for Kobe White. Also, I don't mind if you want to put a little sprinkle on his over 3.5 three-pointers. That's at like plus 150, plus 140 in some places. I like that too. So then on the Pistons side of things, we'll do Jalen Duren over 24.5 points and rebounds at minus 125. He has at least 25 combined points and rebounds in 10 of his last 13 games. That included when he played the Bulls. He had 21 points and 13 rebounds. He did face them earlier in the season too. 15 points and 22 rebounds in that game. Nikola Vucevic is a great offensive player. He stinks on defense. It's a layup line when Vucevic is in there. I really like this play for Jalen Duren. I think he is going to feast against the Bulls.
As Eric David would reference Duran. I know that's Duran, but we had that reference last time. There was a prop on Jalen Duren. We've got over 24.5 points and rebounds. Kobe White over 19.5 points, minus 122 and minus 125. All right. We go from one NBA prop and expert to another NBA prop and expert. Propstarz, you're up next.
All right, let's go. Yeah, guys, I have another play that I absolutely love on the hardwood. Ja Morant to go over 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. If you don't have access to the 31 number, 32.5, a full unit play for me as well. This just looks like a potential spike game or a ceiling game for Morant facing Phoenix, the highest total on the slate. 245 points, gargantuan total there. Morant's been playing well recently. He's gone 25 plus points in 2 of his last 3 games. Phoenix at the moment is playing no defense. They've just been getting absolutely torched. And now they're playing a Memphis Grizzlies team that is first in the NBA in pace or possessions per game. So this could get very high scoring. And this is a low number, frankly, for Ja Morant, who in my opinion, has been ramping up. I expect him to be better, at least in the scoring department and rebounds and assists over the second half of the season. Starting to see glimpses of it right here. Phoenix also extremely generous to opposing point guards. They give up a ton of production. I believe the second or third most points to the position, as well as the second or third most rebounds. So definitely a great spot. Checks all the boxes. I'll be laddering this as well. I like it similarly to that Palo play we cashed last night. So let's go Ja Morant over.
Farzad says ladder Ja. And by the way, as far as the Phoenix Suns are concerned, I've been on this for probably like 18 months now. If you want to know what the definition of a paper tiger is, it's the Phoenix Suns as constructed with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and literally nobody else. Ray Brown says Phoenix GM showed KD what he really thought about him, wanted to trade, he says. By the way, some more mics. Michael Schumacher getting brought up in F1. I mean, thanks for bringing up the name, but does not really qualify in my opinion. However, Mike Trout. Mike Trout is a very good answer. And I think Mike Trout is one of those guys that could have played additional sports as well. Propstarz, go ahead.
And Mike Trout, also a Philadelphia Eagles fan as well.
That sounded like a shot at Mike McClure. Mikey B, go ahead.
Yeah, what about Michael Scott? He played both basketball and hockey on The Office. That's a two-sport star right there. Michael Scott.
That is very well done. While we're on you, Mikey B, good one, by the way. Kobe White bumped to 20.5. Do you still like that, Mikey B?
Love it. I don't mind if you want to ladder him all the way up to 25 points. So I like taking the over 3.5 threes because that's really good odds on that too. But if you wanted to play over 19.5, over 20.5, over on 3.5 threes, and up to 25 points, I'm fine with all of those.
Wow. And Gus Dawson, Mikey B has a comment for you. He says, even when he's gone, Zach LaVine still gets brought up. You are very happy about his departure, yes?
Yes. Oh, I mean, I wish there was more departures too, but man, I'm so happy that Chicago West, the Kings, are now a unit because get rid of Zach LaVine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a SportsLine pick. Oh my gosh. I don't even
know. Look at that
That's
athlete.
funny.
Look at that.
That is amazing.
Peak physical fitness.
Wow.
Look at, I got struck by that because I was like, that's not an athlete. Then I was like, oh, okay, that's the reference. You got to watch us on YouTube. By the way, if you are watching us on YouTube, don't hit the like button for us four. Hit it for Ben. Because Ben is absolutely running the show here in the background and just Benny on the spot with that graphic there. That was really good stuff. Definitely hit the like button for Ben and perhaps for all of us. And for the SportsLine pick. Ladies and gentlemen, this one is courtesy of one of your favorites, if not your favorite, Tom Casale. We're going Florida money line. Now, I believe he put this in on SportsLine at minus 120. This is one of the extremely rare occasions where you can actually get a better number because Florida money line right now, pretty much across the board, including at BetMGM, -110. So go ahead and scoop that up now. Florida money line, -120 on the app, -110 is where you potentially can get it now. That, of course, is courtesy of Tom Casale. Speaking of BetMGM, if you haven't heard our first bet offer, $1,500 plus a free SportsLine subscription, well, you're going to hear about it now. Again, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, sign up now and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM plus a 1-year free subscription to SportsLine with bonus code SportsLine1500. Get exclusive members-only picks for all major sports from proven models and 40-plus Vegas experts, plus predictive tools for pick'em, brackets, player stats, and more. Get this offer in 4 easy steps. Download the BetMGM Sports app and register an account using bonus code SportsLine1500. Make your first deposit of at least $10. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Claim your free 1-year subscription to SportsLine in your BetMGM inbox. Ladies and gentlemen, we still got to get to Mike McClure's pick. I got a golf pick to give out, which, quite frankly, I want to get Mike's opinion on as well. We're going to answer your questions in the chat, particularly if they're NBA related. We're going to do it all right after this message from our partners.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more. It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal! On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Oh, interesting question from Richard Pierre. And Mike, I don't know. This is for Mike McClure. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but he asks, thoughts on Auburn still being number one. Of course, Auburn has a game today at Vanderbilt. They're laying 9 points. I actually considered, coming off that loss, I considered Auburn in the first half against Vanderbilt, but I just kind of decided to stay away from it. Mike, any thoughts on Auburn still being number one? They still feel like the best team in the country to me.
Yeah, I mean, they're clearly one of the top teams. I have no issues with them being ranked number one here, but yeah, not a big deal. Florida's a team, it's not a bad loss. When you look at the game that they lost to Florida, Florida is still an extremely talented team that matches up pretty well with them. They can play with a launch of tempo. Florida's got great guard play. I think not having Elijah Martin was probably the surprise that they lost there, but them being 9.5 point favorites over Florida just kind of shows where they were at in the market. Yeah, I have no issues with Auburn being number one still, though.
All right. Jeff Stenberg says, no love for Michael Thorbjornsen is hurtful. Pretty funny comment. An up-and-coming PGA Tour player, certainly not in the Mike conversation. Shout out to Jeff for always being in here. And all of you, like Joe and so many, Mark Buckholtz, Mark Hood, so many that are in here, Jason Pogwist, every single day. If you're not here every single day, totally understand. But we appreciate everybody in here every day that you're in here. That's a nice transition from Jeff to my pick, because I'm going Gary Woodland at the Genesis Invitational. As we know, this one is at Torrey Pines. Because of the fires out west, and we're going back to the place we were just a few weeks ago for the Farmers. I like Gary Woodland a lot in terms of how his game is trending. The T30 market isn't available at every single sports book, so I think it's okay. At T40, you're going to have to pay some serious juice. So I don't know that I love that, but I think at the T20 market, I didn't look at the number, but you're probably getting a very big plus number. My thought there is to still take it, but lower your unit size. Frankly, at a plus 130, you don't even have to put a full unit on this. You could put 0.8 units on it, for example. But in the T20 market, it's a big number. But I think Gary Woodland can absolutely T20, especially when you look at his play over the last few tournaments. Now, Gary Woodland has struggled with some major health issues over the last few years, but it looks like he is truly rounding into form, and it's a small sample size. But if you look at the last 3 tournaments, his ball striking has really been incredible, kind of the Gary Woodland of old, 4, 5, 6 years ago. More importantly, at Torrey Pines, I mean, his ball striking, yeah, it's been good, but his length is really good too, and that's going to help him here. So I like Gary Woodland. I mean, as an outside shot to like top 10 and maybe to contend on Sunday, but in reality, I think some of those big guns are actually going to take this tournament down. But T30 at plus 130, I really like. And again, T20 at a much bigger plus number, I don't mind that either. Mike McClure, I do want to ask you, by the way, this starts Thursday morning. We got a couple of days. I'll probably have another golf pick tomorrow. There's others that I'm considering, but I have not finalized my first round leader card or my outright card. Mike, with all of that said, Gary Woodland on your radar at all? And if not, is there another player that you could throw out to us that like you're kind of focused in on, whether it's in the outright market, finishing position, or otherwise?
Yeah, so I do love Gary Woodland here. Big Gary Woodland fan. Grew up in the same area, played sports, rival high schools, things like that. So I'm very familiar with Gary Woodland. He was 5 years older than me, but still when I was in junior high school, following him. So same area for Gary. So a lot of respect there, as you mentioned, dealing with a lot in his personal life, with his personal health. Great to see him rebounding. As far as guys that I'm looking at again here, I'm going to be still continuing to buy on Tommy Fleetwood a little bit. And then Rasmus Højgaard, who I played last week, thought we were going to make a little noise, ended up cashing his top 20s. Going to be right back there with that. And I was on Woodland last week. I will be on Woodland again here at the Genesis.
Yeah, that is Tommy Fleetwood is a definitely an interesting play. He rated out pretty well for me as well. Let's see. Mark Gillett says Sia is doing golf. I did have a pretty bad week last week, especially when it came to matchups. Didn't hit any outrights, but my matchups. Mike, I thought the Phoenix Open was. I know there's a lot of variance in golf. Don't get me wrong, but I thought Phoenix. And by the way, good call on Rasmus. And I noticed the market is really respecting him this week as well. I thought the Phoenix Open was as random and as variance ridden as a golf tournament can get without like extreme weather. Your thoughts on that? Did it seem like last week, day to day, it was just completely different?
Yeah, definitely completely different day to day. I think you get that early in the season. We call this early in the season. I mean, it's, wraparound seasons, things like that. But yeah, to me, it's early in the season. And it also just goes to speak to the level of talent on the tour. The level of talent on the tour, we can argue about this back and forth, but it's so much better than it was 10 years ago, even. They're just, you don't necessarily think about it because of the names, but the talent across the board, like it's almost like NFL any given Sunday out there, any given golf tournament like this, you're going to have names that can absolutely compete. We're still talking about literally the best in the world here.
Yeah. So many up and coming names. One that I wouldn't call him up and coming. He's been around for a few years, but one that I'm looking at for this golf course as well, Mike, is Taylor Pendrith. I was considering him as a play today as well. A lot of people on Taylor Pendrith this week. We have Mike Barner greater than Kenyon Barner, says Chuck Descalos. We have Mike Tomzak, Michael Strahan, CID, good one there. Joe Neuenfeld with Mike Tomzak. We did have a question about the course. Eric David wanted to know, is this tournament just on the South course for all 4 days? The answer is yes, no North course. So if you're looking back at the Farmers, we didn't have strokes gain metrics for the North course, so there's not much to look at, but you definitely want to exclude the North course from your analysis. It is all South course at Torrey Pines. Before we get to your play, Mike, I thought there was a question in the chat that we needed to get to. Oh, there it is. Early wedge coming back from Japan. EC hosting. If not, I'll raise hell. Good news, Japan. We don't have the official announcement until next week, but you're going to see an expanded version of the early wedge within the next 2 weeks. You're going to be really, really excited about who is on it and what the actual content is going to be comprised of. So I know we've been saying it for a couple of weeks now, like stay tuned. And that's sort of what we have to say right now. But within the next 2 weeks, you're going to start seeing early wedge shows, plural. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get to Mike McClure's pick. We're going to college basketball.
College basketball, maybe college football. I've got the matchup previewed here. You know what's interesting? I found it interesting today. We're talking about all this Mike talk. Mike Bibby was dropped in the chat multiple times here. How about Arizona Wildcat legend Mike Bibby? Let's go Arizona here. -2.5, -115, -3 at -110. I like both of those plays. Up to you if you want to go lay 3.5 up over the full possession. The model clearly says that there's an edge here, though. When I look at these two teams, two of the hottest teams in college basketball right now, to be honest with you, Sia, when you look at Kansas State, 5 consecutive wins, covered the spread in 8 consecutive games, including a game where they were a 14.5-point underdog to Iowa State. And then they are coming off perhaps the biggest shock to me was bouncing back and staying in that win column, beating the in-state rival Kansas. That was interesting to me. While Arizona, they've been pretty good all season, but they rattled off 6 wins, 6 covers in a row. I just think that this is a huge buy opportunity on Arizona. I think that Kansas State is the team that has reached that peak market value. So we have a common opponent within the last few games for both of these, and that would be Iowa State. The line in the Kansas State-Iowa State game was 14.5. In the Arizona game, Arizona was a 2.5-point favorite in that game. That to me doesn't map here. I know that it's hard to bet against Kansas State when they're playing well because they are extremely well coached with Jerome Tang. But to me, this number still should be around 7.5 or 8. My computer makes it closer to 9. But the fact that you're getting it through some pretty key spots here, talking about one full possession at 2.5 or 3, I would be willing to buy here on Arizona, which is obviously why we're playing it. But I think it's a good buy spot because you're not having to pay the 4.5 or 5 where you're talking about 2 full possessions, which would still be a clear buy signal from the simulation. So I will look at this buy low opportunity. Again, 2 teams covering spreads like crazy. Kansas State, 8 games in a row. Almost impossible to do in college basketball, covering that many spreads. I will fade them in this spot. Give me Arizona -2.5.
I like this spot quite a bit as well. Gipper's Pick says, love an M2 college basketball. Lock it in. We've got some requests, Mike, and you don't need to respond to this. I'm just kind of telling you, I'm talking to Mike McClure, that you should be on some early wedge episodes. Well, we will definitely make a note of that. That is a very, very good idea.
See if I can clear my schedule at times. We'll see.
All right. Very, very interesting suggestion there. Chris Kish, sorry for, I think your word was dissing Michael Schumacher. I know you're a big F1 guy, so I actually do apologize for that. Mikey B, before we get to the recap screen, was there anything NBA? Proppy, I know you were wrangling Goose, so I'm not going to ask you this question. And I know Goose weighs a little bit more than people think. So when that's going on, I know you got issues to deal with. But Mikey B, anything in the chat from an NBA standpoint that you need to address?
No, I didn't see anything in there, but I will add one more NBA great with the name Mike Muscala.
Wow. Mike Muscala.
Love a Mike Muscala 3. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mike Muscala hitting that dagger 3. Playing him in DFS at minimum salary, hoping we get 3 rebounds and 2 made threes. Yes.
Thunder legend, Mike Muscala.
Atlanta Hawks legend, Mike Muscala.
I mean, he's no Nick Collison. He's not going to get his number retired, but it's Mike Muscala.
Mike Evans being dropped in the chat. That's a good one, by the way, Mike Evans. If you thought like the Mike Muscala random reference was like plus 8,000 to hit this show, and it absolutely cashed. That is amazing. And Connor Johnston, we're gonna go out on this. Of course, we'll go to the recap screen too. He says Mike Lowry, which is a great, great answer, and it's a great way that you spelled that out. Mike Miller from Farzad as well. We forget about some of these basketball players that were very big contributors to winning teams. All right, let's go to our winning, hopefully, recap screen. Tuesday bets, Genesis Invitational, Gary Woodland T30 at plus 130. Don't forget, of course, this one is Thursday morning. More Genesis Invitational bets coming up here and potentially in the SportsLine Discord. Kobe White over 19.5 points and Jalen Duren over 24.5 points and rebounds. Those are from Mikey B. Propstarz and Goose. John Morant over 31.5 points at rebounds and assists, PRA -120. Mike McClure, Arizona -2.5 at -115 at Kansas State. And our SportsLine pick, courtesy of Tom Casale. Speaking of college basketball teams on the road, Florida money line against Mississippi State. Kirk Schroyer, Steve Folkerts, Danny Brasco in the chat, Vincent Calabrese, Gus Dawson, Ray Brown, Eric David, Rashawn Jones. Thank you all for being in here. What a great show. We had Propstarz, we had Goose, we had Ben on the ones and twos. Have you noticed the graphics, folks? Again, another huge shout out to Ben. We had Mikey B, we had Mike McClure, we had all the mics in the chat, and I'm going to go and think of some more mics. I noticed when we were dropping the Mike Bibby references, we had a lot of Arizona Wildcat references, including Miles Simon. Maybe that'll be the subject matter for the next show. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thanks for participating. Thanks for throwing your bets and questions in here. We'll see you next time on The Early Edge. We rest our case.